Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What's going on, Internet? Eric Van Holtz here, back again with another amazing e-commerce conversation. Got Corey Blake from MWI on the other end. How's it going, Corey? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's going great. I'm excited to talk to you again. What's it been? A couple weeks? 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, I was a guest on your podcast where we dug into a little more life-related things, which is, for me, fun to talk about. You can only talk about business so much before.
Yeah, we like getting into the backgrounds of people and then hearing their stories. It's something I thoroughly enjoy doing, so I appreciate you giving us all that great detail. I loved that conversation.
Well, why don't you go ahead and get our listeners the little 30-second pitch of what MWI does and kind of your experience?
Yeah, so we're a digital marketing agency. We're unique in the sense that we're an international agency. We've got a presence in Asia and Europe, as well as the US, but we're also very much still a boutique firm. So, we keep it small and we keep it lean. We work with amazing brands, full service marketing. So we do everything from SEO to all forms of paid advertising, website design and development, digital PR, content marketing, really building and creating customized solutions for our partners that we work with in order to yield results for them. And then the podcast you were on is the Hope Strategy podcast. That's just kind of a little side hustle, passion project that me and my partner Josh do.
So a little bit of disclosure, I worked with Corey and the team over at MWI back in probably like 2014, 2015.
Yeah, I actually looked after we talked because I was curious because we kind of kept referencing it. Yeah, I think it was 2014 to like 2016 or something like right in there.
And we used you guys kind of for like PR outreach, SEO, SEM kind of stuff. I'm a big believer in building links, and you guys have some great connections in various like high profile publications. How do you go about developing those relationships?
Yeah, we kind of cracked a code there. Some of the greatest business successes we've seen and some of the cool things that we've done, and I'm sure you've seen this too, it's like it just happens, it kind of just natural, organically, kind of creates itself. Josh, my partner, he kept a blog for, 10 years, 15 years that had a decent following just for a long time, talking about digital marketing, and this, I'm talking from like 1999. So like since the beginning of, the internet really, especially as it pertains to marketing. And then somebody approached him after he had done that pretty religiously for like 10 years and said, hey, you're in Asia or you're moving to Asia and I write for Forbes and they need a contributor that's an entrepreneur that lives in Asia that can talk about business and entrepreneurship in Asia. And so it was just kind of this organic thing because they had read his blog and they were a fan of it and they loved his writing. So he started writing for Forbes in like 2015 or something, or somewhere in there. And after that, we just built this big network. From there, he wrote for another publication and then another publication. And then over the next 3 years, he wrote for dozens of publications, wrote over 300 articles in all these top tier places. And as a result of that, we built this huge network of contributors and writers and PR people just organically. And so after building that and building all these relationships out, it's kind of funny because we didn't even think about offering that as a service. And then all of a sudden somebody approached us and said, hey, is this something that you have enough knowledge in and expertise in that you can help us do this for our business, get some good digital PR? We're like, oh yeah, I guess we could offer that for clients as part of what we're doing. So, we've gone about it the right way. There's a lot of do's and don'ts, especially if you're a contributor. For example, like Josh as a contributor at some of these publications can never write for one of our clients on behalf of them because then it looks like he's getting paid to write, which they don't like. But we do have such a vast network that we've just been able to continue to grow that. And yeah, it's worked out well. We've featured our clients in hundreds of top tier publications that have helped both from an SEO standpoint, but probably more than anything more brand awareness, brand building and validation, borrowed credibility, all that fun stuff.
Now, I know as an agency, you guys say you do everything, but where would you say your bread and butter is? Is it in that PR side of things, or has it moved into different directions since we last worked together?
Yeah, it's evolved a lot. We initially started back in the day doing just straight SEO. We were just an SEO firm until probably 2013 or 2014. And then we got a lot more into web development because we saw that you can do all of the technical, on-site or off-site SEO stuff. But if you don't have the right team to implement it, it's all for naught, right? You need to implement it the right way and then be consistent with it. And so we started to bring development in-house. And then we've transitioned and added paid advertising in like 2015, and we've been growing that ever since. And now this PR piece over the last 3 years has become it kind of brings everything together really nicely. It kind of ties together a lot of the paid advertising that we're doing, a lot of the organic stuff that we're doing. We can kind of both meet in the middle with some of this content marketing and PR that we're doing, right? Because you leverage that content that we're creating both on your paid campaigns and also for the SEO and organic value. So I know that's kind of still a little bit of a broad answer, but really the key is building customized solutions that revolve around these paid, organic, and content strategies, and then building customized strategies that kind of live within all of that to get results.
Now, in the e-commerce space, when I'm on like e-commerce fuel and all the conversations, it seems like SEO is kind of like this redhead stepchild that everyone's forgotten about.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's focused on like Facebook, Instagram paid or influencer or affiliate marketing. Is there still opportunity in search to get organic rankings, or how are e-commerce companies successfully building up their digital presence that way?
It's tricky because, as you know, there's so much competition now in e-commerce, right? Because anybody can start up a shop on Shopify. They don't even have to have a product yet, right? They could just get a brand and put something together and have an idea and launch something and see if they sell it. And then if and when they sell it, then they get it made. So there's so much competition that organic efforts can be all for naught. If you're a small operation that's looking to get sales, I would never say, oh yeah, invest all of your marketing budget into SEO, because it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of resources. And meanwhile, all of your competitors are going to be over here paying influencers money, doing ads on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and stuff and getting immediate ROI and getting immediate traffic, where the organic side is going to take some time. So that's why, as you said, it's kind of that redheaded stepchild, right? It kind of gets pushed to the side a lot. Where I start to see a lot of value in implementing SEO strategies and more that organic is once you're past that initial startup phase and you're actually generating revenue, it's really important to take a chunk of that revenue, whatever your marketing budget is, and take a piece of that and start to put it into the SEO tactics that are going to yield results faster, but also focusing on kind of that long-term growth in keyword ranking. So, you guys do an amazing job at this at your companies, right? Like creating consistent, amazing content. That might not sound like an SEO strategy because it's a content strategy, it's a video strategy, it's a social strategy, whatever. But all of that content, as you know, when you link it correctly back to your website and to other places on the internet that you want, people to find it, that right there is SEO gold, right? It's just taking that, some of these other strategies, these social media strategies or these content strategies, and looking at them through a little bit of different lens in order to get some organic value from those and be able to leverage them for organic growth. So again, I would never say, hey, right off the bat, out the gate, go put all your money into SEO. But I would say as time progresses and you have a little bit of money, I would definitely diversify and start focusing on organic strategies from all of the content stuff that you're creating.
Yeah. So in 2020, 2021, SEO, the tactics looks like more content marketing than, maybe like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where it's keywords and titles and H2s and
yeah, I'd say so. I mean, all of that, the keywords and titles and H2s and all that organic structure on the website and that Google best practice on site is still important. I mean, you want to go through and get that audit done and get all of that implemented by somebody that knows what they're talking about and is up to date on what Google's best practice is. Once you've got that, then it's very much a content marketing game. It's creating on-site content consistently that's on point, on brand, on message, and focused on those keywords that you're trying to perform for. But then it's the link strategy from there, right? Where are you sharing that? What's your social media presence look like? Previously, up before probably 2017 or 18, social signals or like your social media presence weren't a contributing factor to your organic ranking. But a couple of years ago, that changed where Google said, if you're performing well and you're sharing your content across all these different social media channels and it's getting engaged with, it's getting engagement, then that's a good thing for your SEO as well. So very much a content marketing play. But if you don't have the foundation laid with a really solid website and good content on site and good organization on site from an SEO standpoint, then you're sending, traffic to a place that's broken and you need to get that fixed.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like beginner stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm so out of the loop when it comes to like what's best practices for the Google algorithm. I had never even considered that building a really strong social media presence, I assume on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, that also boosts the presence of your website. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. A lot of times people forget, and you overlook this when you're, getting your, in this case, e-commerce business off the ground, that Google itself is, well, it's a lot of things, right? It's all powerful at this point, but the search engine aspect of it is they're just trying to provide their users with the best experience possible. And in order to do that, they have to look at, what signals are out there telling them what's going to give their users the best experience when a search is plugged in or when you talk to your phone and a voice search or whatever. And so if you have a strong social media presence, and if you're creating consistent content online, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, that's getting shared and being talked about, Google is going to now assess and say, this is something that people are talking about. And so obviously it is something we should have perform well when people do a search for it, right? That used to not tie into it as much. It used to be more about, like you said before, kind of all those backlinks and a lot of the more of like the black hat SEO stuff you could do on your website to kind of trick search engine algorithms. That's not the case anymore. You'll get penalized for that real quick. It's more about Google just knowing that you're valuable, that you're providing value to people, that if they put you up in the search results, you're going to give their users exactly what they're looking for. And the best way to do that is content.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that black hat tactics, because I always feel like everyone wants everything today or tomorrow, right? So there's always that temptation for the quickest results. But what are black hat people generally doing, and how has Google kind of cracked down on them? It always feels like the black hatters are always one step ahead of Google. Is that no longer the case?
Yeah, they're one step ahead until they're not, right? So if you're an e-commerce business that's looking to churn and burn, which is not my model and not a model that I would ever do, just because I like to provide real value. But there's a lot of people out there that are just building these small businesses with whatever decent product that they're getting manufactured, just to, again, like I said, kind of churn and burn. A lot of this like black hat link building, for example, I was just looking at a website the other day. One of my buddies was like, hey, can you do a quick look at my website and look at some of these competitors and let me know why they're performing so well? And within 2 minutes, it was like, man, these guys have tens of thousands of backlinks on these Russian websites. For literally, I'm not just saying it like it's a cliche, but like on Viagra advertisements in Russia, but it just has the name and a link to the company. And Google, when they crawl the website, they're just seeing, oh, they have a backlink and it's directed back, and when you get a bunch of those, then it looks really good to Google. But I was shocked that they were still performing as well as they had, because typically that gets penalized really quickly at this point. So anyways, if you're looking to build a long, valuable, online business and an e-commerce business, I would steer clear of any of that black hat stuff, because like I said, you're one step ahead until you're not. And then once you get penalized, Google will take you from the first page down to the 1,000th page. And it's a lot of work to get back. So people that are looking to make money and don't care if Google shuts them down, that's one strategy, I suppose. But if you're looking to really provide value and build a long-standing business, I would definitely steer clear.
Now, one thing I've noticed with our website, beardbrand.com, I'm on Ahrefs, I don't know.
I always say Ahrefs, but it might be Ahrefs. I don't know.
There was this period of time where we had like this huge spike in links from like Russia or some kind of outside of American country, Korea maybe it was like Korean websites or something, and then they all like crashed down. Clearly, we don't do any kind of black hat stuff. Like we had no input in that. And, how is something like that happening where our website can all of a sudden generate all these scammy links and then disappear? And then, fortunately for us, it didn't look like we were affected by the rankings in Google at all.
I'm not sure. There's a couple of ways. The first question I always have if somebody says that is, were you working with an agency or a third party that was managing your SEO? Because if you were, a lot of times you're not fully aware of what tactics they're employing. And sometimes they might be doing something they shouldn't be, and that may get you short-term wins and, be bad in the long run. It sounds like this wasn't for you. So that's one question I would ask. The next question I would ask is, right now you could technically, for your competitors, and again, I would never recommend this, but you could go to any website out there and you could create content and backlinks back to their website that looked really spammy on spammy websites in an attempt, more of like a malicious, attempt to have a negative impact on their search engine results, assuming that Google's going to see that. So I don't know, man, if it wasn't you and it wasn't somebody that and it wasn't an agency or a third party you were working with, somebody was creating that content and pushing it out there. I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
It's curious. But you said it didn't have a negative effect.
Not that I'm aware of. So one thing that we do as well is on our YouTube channel, we'll always put a link back to Beard Brand in the description. And I know there's like a lot of kind of like these Russian websites or just weird websites that will scrape all of YouTube and they'll like just pull in like the descriptions and stuff like that. So I don't know if it was like one of those automated mass content scraper website.
Did it have something to do with like affiliate? Is there like any affiliate links or anything? Was it like legit? They were trying to sell the product with a link and then they were going to get paid for it or something?
No, it was just like I did a little digging,
Yeah.
but like if you go to like this Russian website, you go in there and it just embeds a YouTube video and then it just pulls all the tags in the description in there. And so in the description is our link. And then of course that link would be linked back to us, but they weren't trying to sell anything. It was just like a huge like video dump type of website. So the pages didn't have any authority or anything like that. And then I forget what happened with all the Korean links and stuff like that, but it was definitely just the kind of weird stuff that.
Well, a lot of over the last, so this all changed a lot in like 2013, 2014, I think. There was this big update that Google did called Hummingbird. It was like a couple of different updates all back to back to back. And it was all about cleaning up these bad backlinks, these black hat type backlinks. And big companies like Expedia, JCPenney's not really a thing anymore, but even in 2013, 2014, it was. JCPenney, I remember, I think Delta Airlines, and then I know that like a couple of online, like Sears Online and stuff. Back then, they had, we're talking hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of these backlinks that were just created all across the internet that were just garbage links, and they all got hit really hard, and search engine traffic took a nosedive. Again, the algorithm continues to get smarter and smarter and smarter at detecting these things. And yeah, again, like I said, it's just something, I'm not sure exactly with your situation, I have to look at it, but it's something that I would steer clear of as part of your strategy. Now, if somebody's doing it like you're saying, and they're scraping your website and putting it up there, you can't do anything about that, right? But yeah, as far as a strategy goes, I would steer clear.
Yeah, I just pulled up RFs and it went from like 40,000 referring pages to 160,000 referring pages from November 8, 2018 to February 2019. So it was just, like totally kind of
interesting.
weird. One thing I wanted to know is you guys got the domain MWI.com. Like when did y'all pick up that? How hard was it? And did y'all pay out the wazoo for it? That's, you're like my only guy I know who's got a 3-letter domain.
So no, man, that's just timing. Again, my partner's Josh Steimley. He's been in the game since I was 13 years old, right? Like MWI started in 1999 when I was 13. Like I said, he and I partnered up in 2013 when I was kind of a budding entrepreneur working on a couple things, and he and I started working on a few separate projects together. And then MWI at the time there was like, I think we had one client and he was working on these other startups that he was doing. And I stumbled upon it and I was like, oh, digital marketing, I want to learn more about that. And I started looking into it. I started doing sales for him just to see if I could. And then I was like, man, let me run with this. And we partnered up and split the company, and the rest is history. So just the timing of that, in his first company that he started in the late 90s was called Mindwire Interactive. And when he had Mindwire Interactive, he had another partner. And I can't remember the exact story, but basically he wanted to get as many domains that had anything to do with Mindwire Interactive as possible. And he found the guy that had MWI. And I think the story is that he reached out to that person because he found their information online and reached out to him. And I'm pretty sure they gave him the domain. They just said, we don't use it. You can have it. Not knowing what they had, I guess. Or he may have bought it for a really low price. But this was in like 2000. So ever since then, Josh has owned it and now we own it, and it's incredibly valuable and we're grateful for it.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. I would imagine it kind of gives like a lot of that authority, a lot of that you've been around for a long period of time to be able to have something like that. And
yeah, but like you said, honestly, going back to kind of the branding, the content stuff, there is nothing more valuable to an e-commerce brand or to any brand online than the brand itself, right? And what type of validation and credibility that brand has, because as things get continually more competitive and more saturated, that we're specifically here with e-commerce, you've really got to stand out. And whether it's the strength of your domain or a lot of that PR stuff that we're talking about, or that social media presence, whatever it is, you've got to figure out how it is that you're going to find that validation quickly through whatever means necessary when somebody finds you, so that they don't just think you're another one of those fly-by-night e-commerce brands,
Which brands out there are kind of like benchmarks for you on how they're doing it right? Whether between just their domain, their branding, their design, their link building. Who do you typically go to?
If this weren't you asking me, I would have the same answer. I just want you to know that. I would say Beard Brand does a fantastic job. I'll give some other examples too. But, we work together, obviously, and I've kept an eye on your stuff and I'm a fan. And the fact that you own, obviously, Beard Brand, there's no question what it is that you do. But you have kept, from a creative standpoint, from a content standpoint, it's everything I've seen is just, it's on the mark. And you do a really good job of leveraging, whether it's growth that you've seen, or strategies that you're employing, or specific content that you've created, or you're leveraging anything out there that is good for the brand from a PR standpoint. to continue to plug that right back into the brand for growth when people see it and find it. So I think that's great.
I wasn't searching for compliments, but I'd certainly take it.
No, I know you weren't. And I, again, if I was on any other podcast, I would have the same response because I know your brand well. There's a company that we work with. And again, just because it's top of mind, it's called Mushi, Mushie. They're a baby product company. They started as like a third-party company for these binkies called Bibs Binkies. They're like a Swedish company. They were just a distributor. And then they started to build this brand around the name Mushi, and because that's the name of one of the founders. And they do a fantastic job. I'll say it just because we work with them and we've gotten them featured in some publications and stuff, and it's out there. They went from 0 to, I think, their first month in sales when they opened their digital doors. I think they did like 23 or 24 grand in sales. And I think by month 12, they did like 470,000 in sales or something like that in that 12th month. And so everything that they did, I can attribute to building a solid online brand. Their digital footprint was deep. A lot of times people just look at, well, let's just build an Instagram presence. These guys said, let's build an Instagram presence. Let's build a Facebook group. Let's do PR. We got them featured in I think 20 plus publications in that first year, top tier publications talking about their story and who they were. We did a bunch of SEO stuff for them. Their blog was solid. And then they continued to add new products. And every time that they did, they made a big deal about it. And they got their message out there through influencer and social and PR. They do a really great job. The reason I use them as an example is because they're not, Apple or something. They're not like, it's easy to point out some of those ones with endless budgets and huge global presences. But when you've got a smaller company that's just an e-commerce product that they found that they liked, that they wanted to sell, and actually turn that into a very, very successful e-commerce business just by building out a solid brand with a big, wide, deep, however you want to say it, digital footprint, they're a great example of that.
Yeah. What are the things that a lot of clients are coming to you and they're just kind of swinging and missing? Like they're just coming in. Most e-commerce businesses are really failing to do what?
I think there's a few things, but I hate to be redundant, but there's this book, I think it's called The Third Door. I read a couple months ago. Have you heard of that book?
No.
It's a guy that was at Stanford, and his family was wanting him to be a doctor and go the route of being, I think, a doctor or a surgeon of some sort. And he's like, man, I really don't want to do that. What I really want to do is talk to people and interview people and learn what the youngest, brightest, smartest entrepreneurs out there in the world have done to become successful. And he was thinking I want to talk to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett as his, if I could find a way to interview those guys. Anyways, the whole book is the story of how he got his first interview that led to a second interview that led to his third interview, and how as he built up to where he finally interviewed Zuckerberg and Gates and all these big names, he talked about how everybody always looks at two doors. And is it this door or this door that I'm going to go into, the front door or the back door? I guess he's referring to when you're trying to get into a club, you can either get in the front door or the back door, but there's always a third door, a way to get into the club, the VIP access, sneak in or get in with the right people to let you in or pay the guy this much money to get whatever, right? There's always a way to get in. In this case, we're talking about e-commerce or something. There's always a way that most people aren't seeing. There's a door to increase sales, to increase opportunity, to increase the, brand awareness, whatever. And I think it really just comes down to that borrowed credibility. Who have you worked with? What case studies can you show of the success that you've seen? What does your product do? What value does it provide? And how do you tell that story and build that narrative in a way that is convincing immediately, builds a ton of value right out the gate, and then getting that message out in as many places as you can to separate you from the masses? So most people come to us and they're like, hey, we've made this one video and we've shared it on Instagram and YouTube, and we've boosted a little bit on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and we're just not seeing any traction. And it's like, well, have you thought about how to repurpose that video? You've got 60 seconds of video. Why don't we repurpose that into 10 different videos, share it across a bunch of different platforms, write a couple blogs about it, go get some PR around it, and kind of cast a much wider net. Oftentimes people think, well, we created content and we shared it. Why isn't this working? And the fact is you've got to find that third door. Where's the way in that nobody else is finding? And typically what I see is that's building a solid brand building strategy, that PR strategy, that awareness strategy, and getting it out into as many places as you possibly can, again, which is something you guys have done excellent.
Yeah, I feel like PR is kind of another, you talk SEO, PR, those are unconsidered marketing channels because they are so hard to track your inputs and outputs, right? It takes time to build links. You don't know how many people are reading that Forbes article. Chances are what I found, and correct me if I'm wrong, is get a link on GQ and we'll get, 10 clicks from it, 20 visitors from it, nothing significant, but the value of that click, that link, seems to be more important than how many people are actually reading the article.
Man, you're spot on. Going back, and this is probably a much better answer than even the one I just told you, but oftentimes we'll have e-commerce companies come and we'll say, yeah, let's get you featured in, Forbes and Inc. and Entrepreneur and Mashable and whatever, right? And so we'll go get this content published on one of these places, and it'll just be, let's say it's like a quote from the CEO, right? Or the founder saying like, we're an expert on this, this, and this. And it's not like a full feature article most of the time. It's just getting them mentioned as an expert in whatever space, right? And a lot of times they'll come back, and we explained this thoroughly in the beginning, but they'll come back and say, well, we're not getting a ton of traffic from this. This article only has 2,000 views and I don't see any sales that have come from it. And, we obviously set the stage way before this, but you're exactly right. I don't care if it gets 0 clicks. If you leverage that placement appropriately, then you're implementing that in your marketing strategies. You're training your sales team and your dev team and whoever else is working on anything that you're putting out there on, hey, we just got featured in these places. We have these names and these brands that we can now leverage. The second somebody sees your brand next to one of these other brands, it immediately gives them that borrowed credibility, right? That validation that you're trying to find. And so, yeah, if you just look surface, like, well, I'm not getting any sales from it. Sure. But the second you get that GQ logo up on your website and on a social media post and in your bio on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, all these places, people are going to see that and they're going to be much more likely to, make a purchase faster than they would if they didn't see that. I mean, it's exponentially, right? Conversions increase substantially when you have that borrowed credibility and that validation from some of these PR places.
Yeah, that's how we got off the ground. We had the New York Times quoted me on an article.
And it was just a quote, right? It wasn't like how Beard Brand is changing the game, right? I'm guessing it was just like something on e-commerce or on sales or on marketing or on something, and they got you as an expert. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, as a beard expert. So they were talking about beards. And at the time, I just had a beard blog. So I was kind of the de facto beard expert at the time. And they may have linked us. They may have hyperlinked us or not.
Most places don't now. That's the other thing. They'll give you a hyperlink a lot of times, for traffic, but it's not the SEO value. Most of them are no follow links, meaning that it doesn't have any SEO value, right?
I mean, is that true or not? I mean, because Google's still looking at it. They're still seeing this as a no follow.
It used to be different. If it was a no follow link, then it didn't carry any weight. But again, that article, if it has your name on it and it's linked back to your website and it's getting shared tens, hundreds, thousands of times, and people are seeing it and reading it, and it's getting, you guys are sharing it across all your different platforms, it's going to carry weight. I can't tell you exactly, what percentage or anything like that, but it definitely carries a lot of weight in the eyes of Google, even though technically it's a no follow link. People say this all the time. So no follow link, I didn't get any direct sales from it, but those people don't understand PR. They don't understand the value of a really solid brand. And like I keep coming back to that validation and that borrowed credibility you get from some of these efforts.
Yeah, and I would say, like, kind of in wrapping things up, my number one hack to link building to SEO isn't necessarily, I mean, content is pretty obvious. You do good content, but we've always been willing to kind of whore our brand out. So we've been a case study of Typeform, of StoreMapper, of Gleam, of, Yotpo back in the day, of our website design, like anywhere and everywhere who wants to use a case study, we're quick to raise our hands. In fact, ShipStation is a shipping software that we use since the early days. They were doing a case study for us, and now they're broadcasting that commercial on national TV. They've aired it like 13,000 times.
By the way, I've seen that now. It's funny, when we spoke, you had mentioned that, and I'm like, no, I haven't seen it. And then I feel like it was the next day or the day after I saw it. I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, they're spamming the heck out of it. And it's like, something like that, you would say, oh, how many leads am I going to get from a case study of ShipStation? I just thought it was like a web placement. Like none of my clients are going to be, going to ShipStation and reading about us. But I don't know. I'm a big fan of saying yes to things. I know there's people out there who are big fans of saying no, but I'll say yes to like people who haven't even built anything, assuming that they have like a good vision and good execution. And you kind of get in early with those links. And as their websites get stronger and stronger, your link value also gets stronger and stronger.
It's really like playing the long game a little bit. Obviously you want to find those short-term wins, and those are important. But when you, exactly like you're saying, when you have that long-term perspective of like, okay, well, this is how our brand looks today. How can it look a year, 2, 3 years from now if we do this the right way? And if you can balance your marketing strategies with both the critical need of those short-term wins and those short-term conversions, which is so much of what we talk about in, e-commerce or in digital marketing, but also build a strategy that more of that organic, like I keep saying, that digital footprint, building that out so that 3 years from now, you're looking at it with a much stronger, more solid online presence. It's invaluable. Those two things married together can make an e-commerce brand unstoppable.
And it is so much easier to reach out to Typeform and say, like, this is exactly what we did. We reached out to Typeform and said, hey, we're doing something really unique with your software that I don't think anyone's doing. Like, let us tell you what we're doing. And then they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. No one's doing that. Let's do a case study on it. You know, like that does take work, right? You do have to have that vision. You have to think forward, and you have to be okay with the fact that, you know, not everything is going to have that tangible return. But like a lot of people in our space, they'll go to Klaviyo.com, and then they'll see like Beard Brand products on kind of like their opening scroll thing, because we did a case study with Klaviyo as well. So it's also like just being good too. Like the whole karma thing. Like if you just help other people out, good things seem to kind of come back to you.
People are always looking for the short-term win. You know, how do I get the win? How do I get it? How do I get it now? And I'm a big believer, like you know, we made this connection talking on my podcast, but just provide value. Just really genuinely and sincerely try to do good and be good and provide value to your audience. And to, you know, even if it's just one person, you need to be okay with that. You need to be happy with the fact that you're providing value to somebody out there. And I think when you do that, and then again, you kind of tie that into your marketing values and your marketing strategies, again, you know, over time, you build a solid brand that people recognize and appreciate and do business with.
Yeah. And speaking of which, of course, I endorse you guys. We worked together for a number of years, and you helped us dramatically. The one thing that's really important to us at Beard Brand is aligning with people who align with our core values: freedom, hunger, and trust. And MWI, and I don't want to misspeak for you guys, but it's always like, hey, we're going to try to win your business. And if you don't want to work with us, you don't want to work with us. And, you know, understanding that, you know, not always things are fits, but you're going to work hard to earn the business and not lock people in. And I appreciated that about you guys in the early days for us as a smaller bootstrap company, to work with someone who has flexibility and is willing to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, we talk a lot about building win-win partnerships and doing so with an abundance mentality. Both of those are things that I'm stealing straight from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if you've read that. But that abundance mentality is the ability to look at a partnership or, you know, whatever market you're trying to take advantage of and saying there's enough good business to go around as long as we do our best. And if we're doing our very best and it's not working out, then it's obviously a bad idea, or something's wrong with our process or something.
Yeah, you don't want to keep an unhealthy relationship. No. Like it just blows my mind that you'd try to lock someone into a long-term contract where they're not happy.
Yeah, but when you have that scarcity mentality and that short-sightedness, you're scraping and clawing to keep anything because you're worried about losing some money or whatever. But if you look at it with that abundance mentality and say, I'm trying to do good business, I'm trying to provide value to the world, and as long as I'm doing that, we're going to find people out there. It's a big, big world out there. You know, we're going to find the right people to work with us. And man, as we've taken that approach, and we're not forcing it. It's who I am. It's who Josh is. It's who our brand is. It's the people we hire. As you take that approach, I mean, you guys are a great example. We worked together for a few years. We provided as much value as we could. We looked at a couple different alternative ways to provide that value. And then it was like, hey, we're doing this a different way now. And it was like, hey man, best of luck. Keep in touch. You know, let us know if there's anything else we can do. Cause it wasn't like we'll lower the price. You know, what can we do to keep you around? It's like, no, we provided value as long as we could. And now we can't in the way that you need it. And that's okay. So yeah, we approach all of our partnerships that way. And I think when you do business that way, it tends to be a lot better in so many ways, from a stress level and a worry level. And, you know, again, doing good work for good people. That's what we're trying to do.
Sweet, man. Where can people learn more about you, learn more about MWI?
The two things that I would say is, so MWI.com, talked about that, 3-letter domain, shouldn't be too hard to remember. You know, if anybody listening to this has any needs for the stuff that we've talked about, any of that digital marketing stuff, any of that PR, you know, guaranteed PR placements in some top tier publications, you know, reach out to us, fill out a form on our website. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Corey Blake, obviously. And then the other thing that, you know, we're talking a lot about right now, just in the world that we're living in, is the podcast, the Hope Strategy podcast. The website's hopestrategypodcast.com. Our conversation with you, Eric, was awesome. As 2020 got going and we were seeing the type of world that we were living in, and there, you know, there's so much good out there, but we weren't hearing a lot about it. And we're just optimists and tend to have that abundance mentality. We said, how can we talk to really great people and spread some good news, you know, and spread some messages of hope and positivity, and hear people's stories that don't end in, you know, stories of crashing and burning. And so we've had, I think your episode was maybe 17 or 18. I think we're episode 21 is going live this week. So it's fairly new this year, but man, we're having amazing conversations with the smartest people, and hearing their stories and hearing their successes and their failures and everything in between, but gleaning from those any strategies that they've implemented or employed in their lives to find hope and optimism and ambition. So again, you know, MWI for the business stuff, but if you're just looking for a good podcast to listen to some good conversations from some really smart people, I'd recommend listening to that.
Sweet, man. I took a couple nuggets out of this, specifically the third door. I'm going to start thinking about that on my daily basis. Hopefully our listeners were able to learn a thing or two. As always, it's been another e-commerce conversations. Cheers. Keep on growing.